It's embarkation day. You're on the Lido deck, breathing in that salty air, and the server arrives, asking you if you'd like a cold, refreshing, frozen tropical drink. Now, before you reach for one, a little voice whispers, is this covered or am I about to pick up the tab? And thus, the age-old cruise drink debate and dilemma kicks in. Hi, I'm Melissa, a university professor who loves to cruise and who loves to talk ship. And today, we're gonna pull back the curtain on cruise drink packages and strategies. The number one question I get asked and I see in cruise forums online every day is the drink package worth it? So are these packages a smart deal or are they cleverly disguised traps? I'll give you my little formula to determine whether or not it's worth it for you, discover a real game changer outlier, and hear how I, a light drinker, still get sucked in when it comes to the drink packages. Cruise lines bundle drinks because they profit when you consume more once you've prepaid. So what shocks a lot of cruisers is that many times cruise lines actually don't make a lot of money off of our cruise fare because there are a lot of costs that the cruise lines incur. So where they actually turn a profit and make a lot of money off of us is on all the extras, namely the drink package, which is one of the most expensive extras that you can buy on a cruise. And they are expensive. And it seems like every 6 months or so, there's some cruise line upping the price or making some kind of cutback or limitation to their package. As of summer 2025, Carnival's Cheers package cost, this is just, I mean, such a huge cost, almost $85 per person, $85 per person per day. And then to add insult to injury, they cap you at 15 alcohol drinks daily. Now, I am not a drinker. Even 1.5 drinks would make me tipsy. I can't fathom drinking 15 alcohol beverages or even 15 any beverages outside of water in a day, but who's to judge? But that's a steep price. Royal Caribbean is also pretty pricey. Their deluxe beverage package sits around $80, but it can drop to the mid-60s sometimes if you can catch a promotion. MSC has an Easy Plus plan. It's around $55 and it covers drinks up to around $12. And Holland America lines have it all bundle, combines drinks with specialty dining, Wi-Fi, and shore excursion credit. And we're gonna talk about that in a minute because for me, I think that's really one of the best values in cruise drink packages. Now, all of these packages include your alcohol beverages, cocktails, beer, and wine. Some of them do have a cap on the amount of what each drink can cost. Anything over that, you have to pay. And it also includes sodas, specialty coffees, milkshakes, smoothies, bottled water, pretty much anything that you can drink, right? So Royal Caribbean does, like I said, sweeten that deal sometimes when they offer their promotion on their drink package, or sometimes they'll offer discounts on bottles of wine. So there are some deals to be had. But here's the key detail too that you need to consider when you're determining whether or not the drink package is worth it. And that is the fact that virtually every cruise line mandates that everyone in the same stateroom has to purchase the package. Some specify just adults, some specify everyone. So I just cruised MSC. I had the specialty coffee package that doesn't include alcohol. I had to buy it for the kids that were with me too. So even though I was the only adult in my stateroom, I still had to buy the kids version for them too. Now, when you're talking about traveling with other adults who aren't drinkers, that can absolutely obliterate any type of value, making it absolutely not worth it. I have a friend that I cruise with sometimes. She likes to drink. She always wants the drink package. I just am not a drinker. I don't even drink much soda. And so it is absolutely not a good deal for me. And I'm not going to pay for a drink package just because she has to have it. And so it's like, if you want it, you got to pay 85 times 2 because I'm not buying it. So that can really destroy the deal. So that can really destroy the value. And you have to consider that. Now, I have heard of some cruisers that have had luck with a doctor's note petitioning for medical reasons, but that's a really hard road. So for example, if you're a recovering alcoholic or you're early in your pregnancy, cruise lines don't let you cruise past a certain length of time in your pregnancy, that sometimes they will make an exception, but that's few and far between when that happens. So if you're traveling with other adults, you really have to consider not only are you going to drink enough to make it worth it, but are the other adults in your room also going to drink enough to make it worth it? So let's think about what you're really paying per drink. Now, recent menus, of course, prices vary, but when you look across the board, cocktails on a cruise ship are generally 11 to 15 bucks, beer 7 to 10 bucks, specialty coffee 4 to 7. I just got off MSC, their coffees were $8, and they were about yay big. Sodas $3 to $4, and smoothies and milkshakes can run even $6 to $8. So that's pretty steep, which might make you think the drink package will absolutely worth it. But to break even, consider this, to break even on Carnival's $85 price, you'd need to drink about 6 premium drinks or fewer if you do factor in coffees and shakes. But then you're drinking a lot more coffees and shakes. Now, consider this too. This is a really, really important thing to consider in your calculation before you determine whether or not the drink package is worth it. Because that question is never going to be universal. No one can ever say, yes, it's worth it, or no, it's not worth it. It's completely individually subjective, dependent upon person to person. But if you are trying to do the math, you have to consider something I see cruisers neglect to think about all the time. And this is a game changer. You have to consider your itinerary. You have to look at how many sea days you have versus how many port days you have. This makes a huge difference in your consumption of beverages. Why? Because think about this, sea days. You're sitting on a ship all day, you have nowhere to go. Yeah, there's activities and things to do, but you might get bored and you're a captive audience. You're on the ship. You might start your day with a cappuccino at breakfast, get a soft drink, sip a poolside beer, grab a milkshake in the late afternoon, drink it up with the cocktails at night, and really get your money's worth on a sea day. But port days look very, very, very different. You're on shore. You're not on the ship. You're on shore. And if you have a long port of call, say that you get to a port and you're there 7:30 in the morning, say it's a really long call, you don't get back till 7 at night, right? How many drinks are you actually drinking on the cruise ship? You're probably not drinking one in the morning because you can't take, for example, a coffee off the ship. They won't even allow that. Bottled water, yes, but not a specialty coffee. And then when you're back on the ship, you're tired. You've been out at port all day and you want to go to bed. You're not going to be drinking that much, if anything. So you have to really consider how much you're going to consume on port days versus sea days. Now, another trap that I see cruisers fall into is the private island trap. They think, oh, I'm going to such and such private island, even though that's technically a port day. I'm going to consider that a sea day because I can use my drink package on the cruise line owned private island. But not so fast. That's not always the case. Carnival Cruise Line is kind of an exception. There are some others, but they drive me crazy because they do not allow use of their drink package on their own private islands. Half Moon Cay, Princess Cay, Celebration Cay. So even though you buy the Carnival drink package and you're on a Carnival-owned private island, you can't use your own drink package that you paid for with Carnival on that island. So you have to treat private island days basically like you do port days. So when considering if the drink package is worth it for you, it's critical to consider not just your consumption in general on a cruise, but your port day consumption compared to your sea day consumption. So taking that into account, here's my go-to formula. It's actually really easy. All you gotta do is figure out how many sea days you have, how many port days you have, figure out how many drinks you're likely to consume on port days versus sea days. Look at those averages. I just gave them to you. You can Google them. And again, prices are pretty high on cruise ships for drinks. And then just do the calculation and then add them up. And again, these numbers, they're going to be different. So multiply your sea days by your average drinks per sea day by the average price of the things you generally drink. And then add your port days times the drink per port day times the price. So there you go. Now let me give you an example. Consider you have a 7-night cruise with 3 sea days and 4 port days. You determine that you'll consume approximately 6 drinks on those sea days, but only 2 drinks on port days. And with the things that you tend to drink, a mix of things, on average, it's about $12 per drink. So you get your 3 days times 6 times 12. That's going to cover your sea days. So on sea days, you're going to spend $216. Then you have those 4 port days. And on those 4 port days, you're going to drink about 2 drinks at about $12 per drink. That equals $96. So all totaled, you're going to consume about $312 in drinks on your 7-day cruise. That is 3 sea days and 4 port days, right? So $312. Now consider if that's a Carnival cruise, Carnival's package would cost you 7 times 85 bucks, roughly $594. And you have to multiply that by 2 if you're 2 adults in a cabin, and consider what your roommate is going to consume. So even if you're by yourself, $594 versus $312, that's roughly $280 more expensive than just paying as you go. Now let's consider, pretend like you're sailing Royal Caribbean. You caught a really good promo. The drink package is mid-60s per person per day. That total is going to be $455, but still, you're going to be spending more buying the drink package than you would if you just did it a la carte. So in many cases, it's just not a smart value unless you are a heavy consumer of beverages, specifically expensive alcohol beverages, and every other adult in your cabin is also a heavy consumer of these beverages. And remember too, that some of these cruise lines, Carnival has a 15 drink cap per person per day. Princess just made their loyal cruisers really upset because they also implemented a 15 drink cap, and to add insult to injury, they also make it apply to all beverages. It's 15 drinks max a day, not just alcohol, but everything. Sodas, waters, coffees, smoothies, juice, whatever. So for many cruisers, The drink package is not worth it. You have to drink a lot, I mean a lot, to make it worth the value. Now there is one notable exception where the drink package can really be worth it for most people, even those of us that don't drink much. And that is Holland America Line's Have It All package. Now with the Have It All package, this is one of the few bargains at sea. And it's different because it's not just a drink package, but it's a bundle of things that happens to include the drink package. It includes basic Wi-Fi, which I unfortunately always have to have when I cruise. I do work, I'm a professor, and when I'm at sea, I have to have access to my students' grades, things like that. It also includes some specialty dining credits and excursion credits, and that amount varies depending on the length of your sailing. So when I cruise with Holland, I almost always buy this Have It All package because it includes a lot of things that I would otherwise buy anyway. And when I add up those costs, the drink package ends up being a very small amount. And even though I don't drink much, if any, alcohol, it makes it worth it through my specialty coffees, which are, again, pretty expensive. Now, the real game changer here is that Holland often offers this on a promotional rate. And I'm not talking about some pretend 10 or 15% off, but it's half off, 50% off. So when I sail Holland, which I do pretty often, 2 to 3 times a year, I will always snag the Have It All package when I can catch it at 50% off. Now, like other cruise lines, Holland does require every adult in the room to have the Have It All package. You can't just buy it for one person. So that does change the calculus a little bit that you have to consider, but that Have It All package with Holland America can be a real bargain. But even then, here's a behavior that happens that even surprises me. And this is something you have to think about too when you're determining whether or not the drink package is a good deal for you. Now, on the one hand, there's a psychological factor of I'm on vacation. I don't care if it's not the best deal economically. I don't really care if it's cheaper a la carte. I want to kick back, relax, and not track a bill. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to be debating in my head every time, should I buy this $12 cocktail or not? I just want to buy it and enjoy my vacation. If that's the case, by all means, buy the drink package if it's going to make your vacation even better. But for me, there's another psychological phenomenon that happens that actually makes me more anti-drink package. And this goes for when I buy the Holland America Have It All package. I also sometimes get free drinks in the casino because I cruise free on casino offers. I'll drop my guide to free casino cruising down below if you want to check that out. So oftentimes, as a perk of being a casino player, I get free drinks. And here's what I find myself happening that kind of disturbs me sometimes. When I have free drinks or I buy the Have It All package, I start pounding back the drinks. Not alcohol. I never like alcohol. I'm never gonna like alcohol. I don't even much like soda. At home, usually I might drink 2, 3 sodas a week, but on a cruise ship, I find myself drinking 1, sometimes 2 a day. I do love my specialty coffees, but on land, I drink 1 a day. On a cruise ship, 2. I'm ashamed to say, sometimes 3 a day. Have you ever looked at how much sugar, how many calories that is? Now, I'm not a super strict dieter, obviously, but I try to limit my sugar consumption. And when you're drinking a lot of sodas and specialty coffees, that sugar, those calories, they add up. And I'm lucky that I don't love cruise food in general, so I don't eat a lot on a cruise, but I can end up gaining weight on a cruise, which I ordinarily don't do just off food because of the drinks, because I'm drinking all my calories. So that's something that you really have to think about, is that psychological factor and that trap that some of us fall into about getting your money's worth. And I know that's how I feel psychologically, and I'm not even paying for the stinking drink package. If you're paying 85 bucks a person per day, you're really gonna be chasing those drinks because you are going to want to get your money's worth. So it's a psychological shift that you have to think about and how it's going to impact you. And if you're engaging those kind of chasing behaviors with alcohol, you might find yourself really overindulging and getting way drunk. And then are you really going to enjoy your cruise if you're smashed all the time? If that's how you enjoy your vacation, I am not going to judge you, I promise. But that can impact your behavior just because you bought the drink package and can derail your vacation. So just make sure you consider that as well. So basically, do the math, consider the psychological factors, consider when you're doing the math, those port days versus those sea days. But I do want to touch upon one cruise line drink package outlier, which is one of my favorite cruise lines because it is the outlier, and that is Virgin Voyages. Of all the cruise lines out there, they are the most, bar none, truly almost, not completely, almost all-inclusive. When you take a Virgin Voyages cruise, and I'll drop my link below, if you book your own Virgin cruise DIY using my link, I will send you free onboard credit up to 50 bucks. Shameless plug. But I do love Virgin regardless of any personal benefit. But I'm not sponsored by any cruise line, Virgin or otherwise. I do just love Virgin. And the main reason I love Virgin is because, like I said, they are mostly all-inclusive. When you book a Virgin Voyages cruise, the fare might look more expensive up front, but you have to consider that it's the only cruise line that includes most things. You get basic Wi-Fi for free, you get specialty dining, all included, gratuities are included in your fare, and drinks are partially included in your fare. all of your soft drinks are included. And I love that because again, I do like a soda here and there when I cruise, whereas I don't drink it much at home, which is odd. But again, we sometimes have psychological or behavioral shifts when we're on a cruise. But with a Virgin, you don't have to worry about sodas. Now, if you do drink alcohol, you do need to know Virgin is very different in terms of how they approach the drink package. In fact, they don't have drink packages. They generally do it as a bar tab. So they're asking you to prepay a sum of money that goes toward your a la carte purchases on your cruise. So why would you do that, you might be asking? And for a while, this confused me too until I got more familiar with Virgin. Like, why wouldn't you just pay for it as you go? Why would you start a prepaid tab? But what they do is they up the ante and they give you a bonus credit. So for example, if you prepay a $200 bar tab, they'll kick in an extra 25 bucks. So you get $225 toward your bar tab and it only costs you 200 bucks. Or sometimes you go big, you put $1,000 toward a bar tab, they'll boost it to $1,250. And of course that tab works on everything: cocktails, mocktails, specialty coffees, fresh juices, smoothies, wine, all of it. Even their drinks at the beach club in Bimini, which is Virgin's sort of private island version. There's no daily caps, there's no rules, there's no pressure to consume. I love the rules. There's not that rule about everybody in your stateroom has to have it. So if you are a non-drinker and you cruise with someone who likes to hammer them back, Virgin's a great choice because it's going to get you the best bang for your buck when it comes to the drink package. Now, Virgin is starting to test the waters a little bit when it comes to flat rate unlimited packages, but that's still kind of in that testing phase. So I'm curious to see where they go with that. But as for now, as the time I made this video, that's how Virgin approaches their drink packages, which is definitely an outlier from the other cruise lines. So I want to know what you think. Are drink packages worth it? What kind of psychological factors lead you to either buy or not buy it? And do you think it's worth it for you? But the TLDR version, I cannot answer that question. Nobody can tell you whether or not a cruise line drink package is a good deal. So stop asking the question because it is so dependent on you, your habits, and even your itinerary, how many sea days versus port days, and how many other adults are cruising with you and whether they drink or not. There's just too much individual factors that go into it to make it a question that can be universally answered.